Number 41. Read this sentence from paragraph 3. The professor, who was sitting at his desk before a pile of letters and replies submitted for approval by me, pushed his glasses down and looked over them at me with a whimsical smile that suggested amusement, impatience, annoyance, and perhaps a faint trace of apology. So what does the phrase, a faint trace of apology, convey about the professor? Okay. Well, what do we know? He was brought after work to the professor in the paragraph 3 after he tells us he writes refusal letters. The professor is smiling, he's amused, he's a bit impatient. That doesn't necessarily mean angry. Annoyed doesn't necessarily mean angry either. I don't know, let's look at the answer choices. A, it indicates the professor feels bad that he has to call the narrator to his office at work. So again, this might entice a lot of students. He did call the narrator to the office after work. And that might make some people feel bad, but there's actually no text or words that indicate the professor feels bad. In fact, the professor is smiling. He's amused. That is the opposite of bad. So A is not right. B, it shows that the professor is hesitant to share his opinions with the narrator. Well, wait a second. This professor goes on to share his opinions quite candidly throughout the whole passage. So there's no sense of hesitation here. He freely shares his opinion. That's false. Another typical wrong answer choice. C, it implies that the professor is uncomfortable criticizing the narrator's work. Well, first of all, he doesn't criticize the narrator's work in general. That's too broad. And he's amused with a whimsical smile. You're not amused and uncomfortable at the same time. That's not right. C is again false. Try to take care to critique your answer choices. There are particular words, particular types of answers that are wrong over and over and over again. So look out for them. Don't be drawn in just by part of it seems correct. Just by the fact that part of it seems correct. D, hopefully this is right. It suggests that the professor knows that the conversation will be frustrating. Yes, the conversation was frustrating for the narrator. He had to go and look at, find great auks that he didn't think even existed. And the professor knows that. The fact that he's got a faint trace of apology seems to indicate he already knows that, and he knows where the conversation is going. And with that, he's a little amused and smiling as well. So perhaps he's a little impatient or annoyed, perhaps with the reasoning of the narrator, as he says later in the passage. But this seems to be why he has a faint trace of apology. Okay? Might be hard to determine that answer as a first guess beforehand, but if you use your elimination techniques, clearly A, B, and C are wrong. So again, being able to use those techniques and be critical is really important in addition to just knowing the types of problems or question prompts.